this was about 10, maybe 15 years ago, complaining that the millennials weren't satisfied with a job unless it had meaning. And I'm going like, no, this is a good thing. We want people to want meaning in their lives. I also say around leaders that are command and control, one of my big whys is I think many corporations, they have more power than some nation states. And I think a lot of the time the leaders have trauma or wounding that keeps them from feeling safe. They don't feel safe to be vulnerable or make mistakes. So they just rule by fear. And I actually took many years and studied trauma healing and a lot of quantum release techniques, because I feel like that it's really helped me. And I've been able to help clients just by getting rid of trauma that keeps us from having those feelings available. And I spent a lot of my life in survival. So for me, it was really only maybe in the last 10 years that I've been able to embrace my full set of feelings and feel safe being vulnerable, which I think showing up on a podcast is one example of that, to just be able to talk and make mistakes and be vulnerable.
Oh yeah. And you said the key word there, vulnerable. I mean, it's a scary place to be, but it's also a liberating place to be. And, this idea of being able to connect and understand through vulnerability. I mean, Brene Brown is one of the first ones who've really talked about it, but it is important. And for the leaders, if they're experiencing fear or they're experiencing anger or some of these other emotions, those are empathy blockers. If you are so overwhelmed with fear or anger that it's all about yourself, you can't connect. And so empathy is negated. So, these responses, trauma responses, sometimes insecurity, I've seen a lot of leaders who end up in these top spots and maybe they know that their leadership skills could be better, but instead of learning and growing, they double down on this is how we do it. And it's kind of too bad because that insecurity and fear is keeping them from growing. And it's not everybody, there's no blanket statement that says all leaders do this or all leaders do that. But I have seen that one crop up more than once.
Yeah, it's interesting when I did a radio show on Voice America back in 2014, 2015, and that channel doesn't exist anymore. I don't know if you can find those recordings. I'm kind of getting them up on my own YouTube channel. But I remember I was interviewing people who were doing really interesting models for change. And one of the things I asked, I said, if you go in and suggest changes to a top leadership team, how do they respond? And they said, almost always there's like a third of them that are like, yes, this is really what we want. We want to be vulnerable and have empowered leadership and just be happier. And a third of them were kind of on the fence, but were coachable. But a third of them basically quit because they just weren't able to give up that fear. And I think those are the most wounded ones, but it's true that, it's a range of what's going on. And I think now more and more leaders are figuring this out because they're watching what's happening and how hard it is to keep up with competition. If, say, the CEO wants to make every decision and every new problem or opportunity has to go all the way up the chain and back down, it's not fast enough. You're going to lose. So for companies to be agile, they really do have to have empathy, empower their employees, and give them the resources and let them know they appreciate them and leave them alone, let them fly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be agile right now, there really isn't another way. Everything else is too cumbersome.